I think the biggest thing for this is how do the Lakers deal with Nikola Jokic's passing? And I think that's very hard to prepare for a guy's passing ability. You can deal with isolations. You can deal with how you're going to defend pick and rolls. But when you have a guy that's got the IQ and the vision and the size of Nikola Jokic, who just can pick you apart, he has had 8 games in the postseason with 6 or more assists. That, to me, is the biggest aspect of this series. Can the Lakers figure out ways to play him in single coverage so they are not giving him opportunities to pick you apart by hitting cutters or hitting three-point shooters? And then for the Nuggets, it's can you build the wall against LeBron? That's the key in this series. If you make the Lakers primarily a perimeter shooting team and you don't give them upwards of 50-plus points in the paint, you've got a great chance to beat them. And I think if you're Mike Malone, don't overreact if some of those role players do make threes early in this series. You've got to stick to your game plan and how to beat this team. And the best way to do it is to make sure that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are not gutting you in the paint and at the foul line. So let's see if the Nuggets can commit to getting that wall and forcing that team to be more of a perimeter team. If they can, it'll be a long series. Denver's been a great story. This is a different level, though. They're going up against defensively, particularly what the Lakers can present. I'm curious to see if Jokic and Murray can operate at the same level that they have the first 2 rounds.
Yeah, and you talk about AD and LeBron being high scorers. This will be the second playoff matchup in NBA history featuring 2 players on each team who are entering, who average 25 points per game in the postseason. So a lot of scoring going on right there. Legler, thank you so much, man.
Ahead, checking in on Tigers.
I'm trying to think about it as much in what I'm going to do next. And when the time comes that we're going to talk about contract and we're going to talk about long-term future with Milwaukee, that's going to be that time. I'm going to be that moment. Obviously, I had a great meeting with the owners, talked about the team, talked about what went wrong, what can we improve. As long as everybody's on the same page and as long as everybody is fighting for the same thing, not fighting every single day, which is to be a champion, I don't see why not be in Milwaukee for the next 15 years.
As long as, keywords there, obviously a disappointing end to the season for Giannis, but let's not forget his incredible regular season. He becomes just the 3rd player all time to win both the MVP and the Defensive Player of the Year in the same season, and the first since Hakeem Olajuwon did it in 93-94. The only other player to do it, Michael Jordan, 87-88. Talk about all-time great company, Kevin.
Curious to see how that guy on the right side comes out to play after the MVP was announced and it went to Giannis. Yeah, let's go over the Western Conference Finals. The biggest storylines ahead of tonight's Game 1. LeBron and Jokic, both of the Lakers series have played out in similar fashion. They lost Game 1 to both the Blazers and Rockets before winning the next 4 games of each series. Both of Denver's series, well, they had similar looks. They were down 3-1. And they came back to beat both the Jazz and Clippers. Denver in its first conference finals since 2009, according to Caesars by William Hill. The Lakers are heavy favorites. The Nuggets series win would be the second largest upset in conference finals history. Well, make that in the last 30 seasons. Time for big game sound. You got it.
It takes a lot of energy, effort, and a lot of desperation to be able to come back from a 3-1 deficit, and they did it twice. So the respect level is out of this world for what we have for this ball club.
Well, we actually did petition the league to see if we could just get right to it and start the 3-1 down, save everybody a lot of time and catch up to the Eastern Conference.
We kind of surprised Clippers and probably didn't want to do it, didn't want to make that happen to them.
The confidence that they're playing with, the chip on their shoulder that they're playing with was really noticeable. Obviously, they're a very resilient group.
To do what they've done in this playoffs, coming back from 3-1 in both their series is phenomenal and something that we've never seen before. So they have a lot of confidence right now, and it's going to be a tough matchup for us.
Malika Andrews and Dave McMenamin join us now from the bubble inside Orlando. Malika, we just heard Mike Malone, head coach of the Nuggets, talk about it, that they play their best basketball when his team is with their backs against the wall, down 3-1. What does Malone want to see from them tonight as this series starts with Game 1?
He just wants to see a high level of intensity, Kevin. What he told me yesterday is that they have a choice here. His guys can choose to be satisfied with the fact that they made it to the Western Conference Finals for the second time in franchise history, or they can choose to say, you know what, the job isn't done, and that's how we're going to come out. Michael Porter Jr. said that he knows that last series against the Clippers, Game 1 was a struggle for them, and part of it might have been tired legs. Another part of it just might have been that the fact that they had their head still deal in the previous first-round series. But this time, they've had a full day off to recuperate. Then they had a full day to go over film, to go over schemes, to prepare for the Lakers. And Nikola Jokic said, you know what? We still feel like we're being overlooked. We know all of the odds are stacked against us. But since we have come back now from 3-1 deficits 2 times, they are no longer going to take us and this series for granted.
Well, confidence riding high right now with the Nuggets. Let's go to the Lakers side, Dave. We heard LeBron mention his respect for this team. What else can you tell us about James' mindset going into this series?
Yeah, Kevin, I checked it with a source close to LeBron this afternoon, and it's funny that Malika used the terminology "not take it for granted," because the source said the exact same thing in terms of how LeBron's viewing the Lakers being in the Western Conference Finals. The source told me that LeBron is not looking ahead. He's not taking it for granted. He recognizes just how hard it is to get to the conference finals, even though he's done it so many times in his career. It can be fleeting. And obviously he was reminded by that last year, not making the playoffs for the first time since his second year in the league. He said he's intensely focused, still finding some time to relax, but he's focused. And tonight, think about it. 10 days ago, LeBron might have had his best game in the playoffs. It happened to coincide with the day that the Bucks were ousted from the playoffs. He had 36 points on 23 shots. Today, he finds out the news. He gets second place in MVP for the 4th time in his career. I think you could see another big night from him with that extra motivation.
Oh, yeah, good luck, Denver. By the way, the Lakers held a 3-1 advantage in the regular season, and that one loss came when LeBron wasn't playing. Malika, Dave, thank you so much. Ryan?